Hello and welcome to Brunwood Farm. Well, here in Suffolk, the UK, we're having a heat wave. Now that's not to be unexpected because British weather is extremely volatile, but it is massively hot at the moment, and it means that these seedlings desperately need to get out of these pots and into the garden. Now I have an array of stuff, mostly this end, it's flowers. These are my dahlias, my seed dahlias from this year, all of which are just doing really well. I've got a second lot of ornamental grass because the first lot frazzled. Another lot of cosmos. These are the start of the amaranths and celosia. Zinnias. These are all second sowings of nigella, larkspur. Look, the poor little thing is so pot bound, going to seed. More marigolds, more amaranth, something that's dead. Nasturtiums. Oh, look at that, that's so pretty with the dew from last night on it. And then we have some more veggies. So we have some lettuces, we have some more hairy things. Spring onions, beets, kale, chard, beets, pumpkins, terrible germination on kohlrabi. What are these? I think this is lamb's lettuce. And then the first of the cucumbers. I'm really slow to the party on cucumbers, but they're just coming up. We're going to tackle the zinnias today. We're going to get these zinnias, the first lot of zinnias, into the garden. Now the market garden patch is actually behind me. It's over there. But you know me, I don't like to keep all of the flowers in one place. I like to use some of the cut flowers to actually landscape the farm. And I've got two raised beds down the bottom here where I grow my daffodils and my tulips. And then later on in the season, I put in my sunflowers, which I did last night. So here are the first batch of sunflowers that have just gone in. I put them in last night. I'm going to redo the trays today and put in a load more. So I've got one lot here and then another lot in that bed over there. But I suddenly thought, if the sunflowers are growing really tall, then actually wouldn't it be really lovely to have an understory of zinnias, especially because this is my driveway. So when you come in, sunflowers up here, zinnias underneath. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in the zinnias amongst the sunflowers. And then the other thing, of course, is the sunflowers are a one cut. So once I've cut them, they're gone, whereas the zinnias keep going. So it means that the bed's always going to have some interest because it's going to have all the zinnias underneath. So let's get them in. Wait, what was that? Let's see that again, shall we? Yes, that is me watering my garden with a hose pipe. Because for the first time since this farm began 3 years ago, we not only have electricity, and oh my god, I am so excited about this, but water, life-saving water. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you will know the saga of getting utilities to site. When I first moved here, I thought it would be electricity that would be hard and water much easier because my neighbours have mains water. And I'd heard all these big stories about how expensive it was to get electricity up to farms and fields where it wasn't already established. But it turned out, because we already have electricity next door and we actually had some telegraph poles on our land, actually connecting up to the power was reasonably straightforward and not very expensive. And so that got sorted last year. me thinking, oh, well, when I have the money, I will just tap straight into the water. It won't be a problem. I was wrong, because it seems that although our neighbours do have mains water, they had paid themselves to have it piped all the way from the village down the road. That was not feasible for us. And when the quote came through to connect to mains water, it was £168,000. That's over $200,000. Now, if I had that much money, I would not be a struggling farmer. So that was completely off the scale, out of the question. So instead, I started investigating a borehole. And now, from the end of May, the borehole is operational. So now in our lovely little owl sanctuary bit next to the cabin, we now have the pump house. And when they first gave me the quote for the borehole itself, drilling into the ground, was £12,000. When they gave me the quote for all the filters, I thought, God, that's a lot of money. Really? A filter costs that much? Then they came and put it in, and I was like, okay, good value for money, because look at this. This is a thing of beauty. So the whole borehole came in at around 16 grand, which is not cheap and will have put me in debt for years to come, but it's essential for the running of our farm. And the groundwater here is super high in iron, but also low in pH. So the water comes out of the borehole down here. This is our pressure system, but then it has to go through multiple iron filters. This is one, a pH filter to bring its pH up a little bit, a sediment, and then this is a UV bulb. And the UV bulb kills all the nasties. Now, because I really don't need filters for watering the garden, because the garden really doesn't need to have lovely, lovely water, I had a tap installed on the outside. So this tap is unfiltered. So this tap is used for everything for watering trees and the garden and the flowers. This pipe down here is the clean water that I can drink and that I can give to the animals. Currently, it's not plumbed into anywhere. It just comes into the barn, and then we've got a valve on the end that we can just pour into buckets, etc. We will put the pipework in eventually, but for now, I can water stuff. We have a heat wave, and it doesn't matter because my plants aren't all gonna die. I just cannot tell you what a relief it is to be able to look outside, see the sun, look at the weather reports and see there is no rain forecast, but know I can turn on a tap. It's a game changer. Especially as now I have begun my CSA. This past weekend was the second, so this coming Sunday is the third pickup. I would have been absolutely freaking out at this point because all my vegetables would have been dying, but they're not, because I've got water. I'm just so happy. Of course, also as a rewilding and regenerative farm, water is so essential for wildlife, and the ponds have barely recovered from last year's drought, and now they're already drying out. So just to be able to access water from underground means I can top up ponds, I can leave water dishes out, and I can make sure that the biodiversity that we're building around this farm can thrive. And actually, on that note, I'm going to just share this little piece of footage with you. And I was so excited to see this hind with 2 fawns in the wildflower and forest. I was slightly perturbed though when I went down to the forest to find that the deer have eaten many, many, many of my trees. But you can't have both worlds, can you? I'm trying to encourage wildlife. So it's a circle of life. I plant lots of trees, half of them get eaten, but the ones that don't get eaten will thrive. So I'm trying not to worry about that. Another enormous positivity for the water is that I can weed, because the weeds have gone insane. This is currently my flower patch. We've got some straw flowers coming on. We've got a second batch of straw flowers here. I need to trim all of this. This is the market garden, and it's fairly weed free here, but up here not so much. But the problem has been the ground is solid, so I can't weed because I can't get the damn things out of the ground. But now, of course, I can soak the ground ahead of time, thereby feeding the crops that are in the ground, but also then I can pull the weeds out. So it's all working rather wonderfully. So one day I will have a beautifully, beautifully organised market garden. For now, it looks like this. But there are crops in there, so I don't care. One thing with this black plastic that I'm finding is it's really great for keeping the weeds down, but it is horrendous for dealing with heat because it absorbs all of the heat, and then if you have any salad crops in it, it makes it want to go to seed immediately. These courgettes are going to be fantastic because the plastic absorbs all the heat and helps them get established and really just, you know, through those colder nights, disseminates that heat onto them. Things like the salad crops, however, unless I'm wetting this constantly, just bolt immediately. So again, the water is proving extremely valuable. I'm really excited about this year. I feel like things are finally falling into place now. We've got utilities. I can water the garden. The CSA has started. The flower sales are going well. I've got markets every week. It's going to be a great 2023. And with that said, there's a little chicken down here that escaped. So I'm going to attempt to go and recapture it. Hello, little chickadee. Success!